Welcome back. Well, as I mentioned, we have Jeff Parker in the house. Well, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think
it's a pleasure to be back.
Yep. Great to have you back. So what do you got for us today?
Well, we got a few things. We wanted to mention two openings that we're working at and moving forward on. And under the provisions of the state, we're opening up, and I mentioned the golf on Monday. May 11th, so that's great. Reservations are all already in the works and being taken, and so we're seeing that, and we have our policy out there and our regulations with regards to how to stay safe and distance and all of that. We also are going to be able to work towards opening our tennis facility the following Monday.
Okay.
So we'll be taking reservations Thursday and Friday relative to that process. We're going to do that one a little slower in the sense that we're going to be operating in the morning until just afternoon.
Okay.
So daytime play. And again, it's singles only. So
Okay.
It is. And so we'll have those regulations out, and we'll talk about that on Monday in a little more detail.
Okay.
And with that, we did receive some questions. Well, how am I going to get to the tennis courts? Some people don't use golf carts to drive to the tennis courts. They drive over there and park.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that gate's not going to be open. We're going to continue to have that gate closed, so you'll need to park over by Clubhouse 2 in
and
gate
then
12,
they can walk in.
and then walk across.
Okay.
The gate will still be open for golf carts because obviously we're going to start opening the golf course and the driving range come Monday.
Yeah.
So we have to worry about social distancing again. We put the programs together, and we're working with following the United States Tennis Association guidelines, that of the governor's office, obviously. And so it's great news that we get a second facility up and going, and then we'll see how that plays out as far as getting into night play or extended play in the afternoons. That's going to be all depending on how people react and do they follow the rules with regards to opening the facilities up. But it's good to get it going.
I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are steps in the right direction. We're making progress. You know, you hope that people do follow the directions primarily because you don't want to ruin it for everybody. I mean, you don't want to get anybody sick, and you don't want to get sick, and you just want to make sure everybody follows the rules. So that's excellent.
And the big deal about that is we don't want to shut down the facilities after we've already opened them up.
Right.
So one of the other things that we're looking forward to hearing from the governor's office on Tuesday, when he said he's going to start opening things up today, but he was going to have more direct regulations to out and about on Tuesday. One of the ones that we're kind of looking for is whether or not he's going to add to the outdoor activities, pickleball, paddle tennis, lawn bowling, any of the other activities that we have outside that we would like to look at start moving towards, but we just don't have those kind of rules yet or okays yet. So we're taking it slowly because we want to do it right.
Right. Well, exactly. And we had a conversation with Supervisor Lisa Bartlett, and we're going to be showing that on Saturday. And she talked a lot about the beaches being open and how that works. And that's scaled back quite a bit too, yet you still can do some sort of activity like walking and things like that. So like we're slowly but surely getting back on track, but it's kind of a slow process, but good thing.
But I think it's great to get things open, and it's really smart to do it in a very efficient and it may be slower, and I'm sure people are chomping at the bit to get out there, but we want to make it safe so that we can maintain what I'm going to talk about next, which is our great record with regards to the very few COVID-19 cases that we have in the community and how that's going to affect all of Orange County and how things are going to open up.
Exactly. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about those numbers, because if you look at Orange County as a whole, and then you compare it to many other areas, I mean, it is way lower.
We certainly have done a really good job. And Laguna Woods, especially, the city has only 8 cases still. And again, I want to make everybody aware, that doesn't mean the village has 8 cases. The city as a total has 8 cases, which is really, really low for a high-risk community that we have here. Secondly, cases have, in the last week, have grown a little bit in Orange County, but again, testing has too. And so you have testing, you get results, you have more people identified as having it. Not necessarily at a level that has hospitalization, but they're just having cases reported.
Right.
So what the governor announced yesterday in opening up is that there's going to be a really strict protocol for counties to meet in order to continue to open up this second phase. And a lot of that has to do with making sure that the hospitals have a certain amount of beds and critical ICUs available.
Okay.
So they see a leveling out of cases increasing. Now, our cases have hovered around 100 as an average over the last week, which is still a pretty high number. So we're hoping that, I think what they're looking for is that number going down?
Right.
I think the challenge that they're going to have is, are they testing enough to get those numbers to go down? Or if they test more, are we going to see numbers go out? And how do you adjust that? And how does the state adjust that in telling the county, move ahead and open up some more activities?
Right, and of course you're at the mercy of the governor and the state and all of the officials to really understand how that works. So we'll just have to wait and see. And did you say that was Tuesday you're going to find out more?
Tuesday when they're going to have more of their hard official announcements. Obviously they talked about opening up fast food and some of the activities starting today. A lot of those activities I think were already kind of in operation, but now you'll be able to go to certain businesses and actually pick up at the business versus a drive-through type of situation. And again, social distancing, wearing the mask, all of those things are critical to this being successful. I think that's going to be the key to it, because we can't just believe that we're back to normal and without seeing a big influx again, and then that means we're going back to where we were, and we don't want to do that.
Absolutely not. You know, I wanted to ask, I know you're close with the Orange County Health Department and you guys are always in contact with them. Are you also in contact with many of the hospitals in the area too? Well,
Saddleback in particular, but we get communication from them as are they seeing an influx. One of the things that's interesting, and we tell people over and over again not to do this in a sense, is we want to make sure that if you're sick and you have an illness or an issue, stroke, heart attack, you think you're having it, go to the hospital, call your 911, go get your emergency access, because what they're seeing is a drop in that kind of activity. And the fear is that people are fearful of going to the hospital because of COVID-19. Well, we don't want that. We want people to be aware that the hospitals are there for you and that they're operationally have segregated things so they clearly have safety zones for people. If you need it, use it, call 911, it's really important.
Perfect. I'm really glad that you said that, because it seems that there are many people who are afraid to go. But it would be worse for you not to go, because they can help you with a heart attack or a stroke and things like that. So I'm really glad that you said this. So thanks for the information. That's perfect. Anything else?
Well, I think the only thing I wanted to mention was, again, we're so happy that our numbers have stayed. So with that, we will come back on probably Wednesday, I would say, on the show Wednesday. I'll be back on Monday too.
Okay, good.
But on Wednesday, we'll come back with more details from the governor's office, and I think we can talk about, will that mean what else can open? And then maybe we'll start looking at the end of the week, a projection of where we're going with a bigger picture. We're starting to have those dialogues with the board members and from United and Third and GRF, and what facilities we think we may be open. Certainly if you watch the governor's presentation, he's got stages, and we're just now talking about stage 2.
Right.
That social distancing is going to be here for a while, we know that. And so I'm getting a lot of calls and emails, well, what's my projection as to when we're going to open up these things? So I think by the time we get to next week, I'm going to talk about maybe engaging people through an email system to get their ideas, what they would want, just to hear their input. And then maybe do some kind of social media on Zoom or however we want to do it, so that we can get the input and people can understand exactly why we can't do something and why we can start moving on something.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to do right now is bring up those resources for everyone, is the websites that we do, just because Jeff is talking about that. So what he's referring to in the governor's reopening of California is the one that you can go to, usa.gov/coronavirus. Now that is, his proposed stages and openings, and then of course he has these briefings, to tell you just kind of where the governor is at. And then anytime you want to know the numbers that we talk about, you can always go to ochealthinfo.com. And then, of course, what we refer to also is the cdc.gov,
Right.
which is many of the things we're talking about with masks and stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure you guys have those resources handy. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much. You have a fabulous weekend.
You too.
And we'll see you back here on Monday.
Sounds great. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. And stay tuned. We are going to talk about the broadband maintenance coming up.